Hello and welcome back to Tech Talk. I'm Kelly Tracy, and today's Tech Talk is a very special one. I'm excited to introduce someone who's been at the center of this industry for decades and who continues to push how we think about selling homes before they're even built. Steve Ormonde, founder and CEO of Focus 360, has spent over 35 years helping builders bring communities to life through innovation, storytelling, and a very deep understanding of the buyer's journey. Steve, we're so glad to have you here.
Oh, thank you, Kelly. I'm glad to be here.
He's also my boss, so no pressure.
There's that.
So I want to start off with a bang. Are you or are you not the inventor of the virtual model home?
Oh my gosh. I don't like that moniker. I just came up with a great idea that I thought would help my wife look at a house. And then next thing you know, no one else had done it. And this is back in 1988. So I guess you can say I invented it, but I don't know. I haven't really scoured the world to see what was going on in 1988. So there's a very strong chance we were the first to do it.
I love that. And that was the most humble way of saying yes. So is that what inspired you to start Focus 360?
It is actually, yeah. Having worked in architecture for a number of years, I was involved in using 3D CAD to help our clients visualize restaurants and hotels.
Wow.
And so it was just a natural progression for me when we were searching for our next home after being fairly newlywed and realizing that the builders back in the late 80s were not building model homes for every single plan that they offered, that I said, why aren't they using 3D CAD for this? And next thing you know, here we are, 37 or so years later, something like that, 38 years.
Wow, that's incredible. So as a founder-led business, what were some of the scrappiest and hardest decisions that you had to make early on?
Besides the ones where do I pay the electrical bill or the gas bill, those kind of decisions?
Yeah, right? I bet those were some decisions you were making.
My gosh. Yeah. I mean, in the early days, there's so many challenges, and I think any small business owner can relate to this. It's how do I build a business by myself? I don't have resources. I don't have investors. I never had investors. So how do I finance this thing? How do I bring in people with very little money in order for me to actually hire them and get them to help me in various areas? There were challenges with, finding the right computer technology, finding the right office space, and even to today, here we are, 26, and there are still challenges to operating a small business. But what were some of the biggest ones? Getting indoors to home builders, getting them to understand the vision, and probably most importantly, getting them to recognize that it's not about the future, which is what I continue to hear, but it was about the present back then. And clearly today, in hindsight, it's part of what you have to do in order to properly market and sell homes, help buyers understand what their future home could look like.
And to say that you've stopped being scrappy would be a lie, because just this week we caught you helping us rebuild our foldable, what is it called? Foldable trade show booth.
Oh, yeah. The trade show booth broke a leg, so Steve stepped up and fixed it.
Don't worry, I got video of it.
Right.
So I can display it right here.
Well, I'll tell you what, it's funny. One of our employees asked me, or was sharing with me about their boss to friends. And they said, oh, is your boss the kind that goes off and plays golf all day and you never see him? And he said, no. My boss is a player coach. He is there and he's in the weeds and in the trenches with everyone. And I don't do that for bragging rights. I do it because I love what we do here. I love every bit of it, from the people to the technology to our clients in the marketplace. It's just a wonderful, wonderful thing to do.
That's so true. I will say the occasional pickleball might come up, but golf, not so much.
Definitely not golf. Yes. When you get to be my age, it's kind of a requirement to play pickleball. So.
Yeah, that's true. So how do you make decisions when there's no clear right answer?
Oh, gosh, it gets easier, but never easy. After so many years of business, you end up with kind of a sixth sense on the right thing. Some people call it a gut feeling. I'm pretty big on data. I want to know what's going on in anything that we're about to step into. whether it's how we use money, how we leverage our team, how we help our clients, how we develop new products. There are so many things that can be really tough decisions that could really affect the bottom line, could affect people's, daily work life and so on and so forth. So if it's not an obvious decision, if it's a decision that can go either way, you have to really rely on your instinct in business and in life. And the more I do this.
That makes so much sense. So, Steve, why do you believe early emotional connection matters so much in the sales process?
So why is it so important that there's an emotional connection for a potential home buyer? Well, heck, we spend a lot of time at home. We raise our kids at home. We have big decisions made at home. We grow as a family. We grow as friends. It's a social environment. So when you're going down the path of having to find the perfect home for your family and how you do life, there has to be an emotional connection. You have to be able to understand what it's going to be like to be in that home and visualize it. And that was frankly one of the challenges we had when we invented this concept of a virtual model. Was people just can't understand that from a two-dimensional line drawing. It's just impossible.
Yeah.
And even having a physical home for someone to walk through, if it's just an example floor plan, but not all of the floor plans or not the floor plan I'm curious about, then you're not really doing them any justice. So it was important really early on to help buyers understand what it'd be like to actually be inside of a home or even, drive up and have that curb appeal for that plan. And using technology to help them get over the hurdle of line drawings and actually feel what it might be like to drive up and be inside that kitchen or in that master bedroom was super important. And I'm lucky in starting this business that I started when the PC had really just come out. And I got to ride the wave of the computer processing power kicking up, which allowed us to further enhance the imagery that we created to go from just simple wireframe line drawings of homes all the way through to where we're at today, where there truly is emotion. When you see it in the fireplace with the fire on, you see it, in the waterfall in your backyard, all these little things that we can add to the experience just to help that home buyer feel what it would be like to be living in that space.
Yeah. Agreed. So you've had a front row seat to this industry for 35 plus years. What's been the biggest shift that you've seen?
The biggest shift, boy, I think the biggest shift just frankly is in the consumer adoption of the technology. If you look at where we're at today, compared to where we were when we started the business, it was not commonplace for anyone to have a home computer, a PC at home. And so the concept of walking into a sales office, because this was before the internet, that was the only way you could experience our virtual models was in a new home sales office, has grown obviously with the advancement of the tech. And so I'd say the biggest advancement is just the consumer's ability to, emotionally connect through a phone for this new floor plan, this new home. Whereas before they literally had to drive out to wherever that sales center was to get any kind of emotional connection to those virtual toolkits.
What a juxtaposition of how things work. I mean, and then you go to COVID where it was like nothing in person.
Yeah.
Wow.
Exactly. I mean, that really advanced our tech too, because when COVID hit, or before COVID, things like we're doing now, having a video conference on a computer screen was mostly reserved for internal company meetings. And rarely was it used for external company meetings. And now we're FaceTiming with our grandchildren in Texas, on the regular. So it's become such an expectation to how we communicate is now visually through technology, through devices.
It's so true. So what's one principle or belief that you've had while being in this industry that has never changed for you?
Well, I have a lot.
Okay.
Gosh, probably the biggest principle that I live by and I share with our team is that even though we've been in business a long time, 37 years, I still see us as a startup. And I love the startup mentality. I love people rolling up their sleeves and just getting dirty on the tech. R&D team does that on the daily. And I really do my best to inspire the team to live by that mantra. Let's operate like we are a 37-year-old startup. And that just gives people the empowerment, the authority to make big decisions, to push things forward, to recognize bottlenecks, to look for opportunities to help our clients do their jobs better and faster, and for the consumer to have a better experience. So of all of my principles, I would say that's the one that's probably served me the best, because I'm never complacent. I'm never happy with where we're at. And I'm always pushing to do more.
I agree with that. I think the scrappiness is something that will never leave. And
No.
I think there's such a benefit to that because everyone, when they see a problem, they get their hands dirty. It's not a
Mhm.
wait and figure out who needs to handle it. And everyone's that way at this company,
Yep. It's
which is
instilled in
great.
the culture. It's part of our DNA.
Yeah. So what's one decision that you made that changed the total trajectory of this business?
Oh my goodness. That's a tough question to answer because trajectory is a pretty big word.
Yeah. I feel like there's like so much of the trajectory changes just based on technology capabilities.
Yeah, yeah. I would have to say that during COVID, I had an opportunity to really reshape how we develop new products, new tools,
Mhm.
and I doubled down on our R&D team. We went from just a couple people to, I mean, now we're a big company, but we went from a couple people dabbling in R&D to 6 people full time in R&D. And that's a big investment. People that do that type of work are not inexpensive, and you don't see a return right away.
Hmm.
So that trajectory shifted because our next generation of products, and keeping in mind that we've been doing software since the late 80s, and here we are in the 2020 range around the pandemic, and it was time to rebuild our tech stack. So bringing in a software architect, bringing in new full stack developers that can really help us shape the new products, building an entire infrastructure around the apps that we produce for our clients. And then just recently, in the past few years, investing in our own toolkits for how we help our clients get their work done quicker and more efficiently. That's probably been the biggest trajectory shift that we've done.
So, what advice would you give to someone starting a business today in the home building industry?
When you start a business in this space, I have a friend that's starting a business not in this space, and he asked me something similar. What advice would I give to him? And I said, you have to choose one of three trajectories, to use that word again. Do you want this just to be a small business where you get to operate and make a decent income? Or do you want to take the steps to grow this into a boutique business where you have employees and a decent collection of clients and you can earn a really decent income through the boutique business? Or is your plan to scale it quickly and exit? And unless you know what your vision is for your own business, it's hard to make decisions early on that will set you up for success. So if I was to give advice to someone today that's considering starting a new business, that would be the first thing I would ask them. What's their game plan?
It's actually really interesting. And I would say that you're option number two, clearly.
I'm certainly option number two. Organic growth, no investors to worry about. It has its own challenges. So all
Sure.
small businesses have their challenges, but yeah, I wouldn't trade it for anything.
How would you describe the legacy that you're hoping Focus 360 is creating in the home building world?
I would hope that we have created a pathway for other companies like Focus 360 to follow, to recognize it's not just about selling tech for tech's sake, but it's really helping a consumer better understand what their biggest investment will ever be, their dream of home ownership, and how we can just cater to them, help them along that path, and that the home builders would continue to adopt it as they have been, to make that just a standard part of their process. What we do is not inexpensive. There's an expense to it,
Sure.
but the reward for the consumer and the value that consumer puts on the builder that uses these tools is huge. So that would be the legacy I'd like Focus 360 to have, to say that we were instrumental in helping consumers better understand and fall in love with their homes.
I think you are well on your way to achieving that.
Thank you
Don't you
so much.
think? Don't you think?
I would hope so. We haven't given up on this business in spite of all the technology challenges that have popped up and the opportunities over the past 3 decades. We've leaned into every one of them, much like we're leaning into AI right now. And so I've seen a lot of companies come and a lot of companies go in this space. But I think the reason we are still here and still growing at a decent clip is based on those ideals. So yeah, let's help the consumer and help our builder.
Yeah. So lastly, what is one hill you'll die on when it comes to business?
Oh my gosh, that's another tough question, Kelly. And it's tough because there are a lot.
Yeah.
There are a
I
lot of
imagine.
things I do. I can tell you that in business, they will tell you, hire slow, fire fast. I've never been one to fire fast. I love people. I love giving them opportunities. I love the relationships that come with it. And there have been times financially where it made sense to lay people off in a tough season because in real estate there are a lot of tough seasons. And I've always waited to the last absolute second when we had to make decisions like that. So that's a hill I'll probably continue to die on, even though for business it makes no sense, is giving our team every possible chance for success before having to make that tough call.
Yeah, I think that speaks to your personality, your integrity, investment in the people that you hire. I will say, the culture here is pretty incredible. You guys have done a really good job at hiring great people. So I can see how that would make it difficult.
Thank you for all that. Appreciate
Yeah.
it.
So thank you so much for joining us on Tech Talk. We are going to be posting this across LinkedIn, YouTube, and Vimeo. You can watch short clips of this on our LinkedIn page, Focus 360, and we hope to see you soon.
Awesome. Thanks for having me, Kelly.